All right, all you incredible speakers out there, it feels good to be done, right? I don't know anything about that. All right, so when I read through the speaker invitation details, I just couldn't get past the words TED Talk. My mind had manifested the idea that I was actually going to deliver a TED Talk, and I was both ecstatic for the opportunity and frightened by its magnitude. So I did the best thing that you would do to take baby steps to prepare for such a fantasy. I searched the most popular talks of all time, which is great if you set really high, unrealistic expectations for yourself. Now combine that with being a procrastinator and an introvert, and congratulations, you just did the worst thing possible. Now for all you TED Talk fans out there, I've embedded several references and tributes to the talks within this 25 most popular playlist for all of you to go back on this recording and find, sort of like a TED Talk scavenger hunt. But I'm taking this opportunity to share my story. It's about my experiences from the Army and the BIM side of my architectural career, how those connect and how these connections enhance the project itself and the experience for the team. My name is Ronald Joseph Weber Jr., and you all guessed correctly. I'm a third-generation German American. Looks aren't everything, believe me. I'm adopted. I actually Googled my name, and I may be the only Asian with this common name. A little harder to guess, but I'm a fourth-generation U.S. Army soldier. My great-grandfather came here from Germany by himself when he was young. He lied about his age and joined the Army. Later on, he had to play the worst type of family feud in World War I. My grandfather served in the Army as well, fought in World War II and received the Purple Heart. My father, highlighted and not to be mixed up with the violent wanted criminal in that same Google search, received the Bronze Star for his service in Vietnam. And just like Benjamin Crosby said, utilize ArchiCAD for any project you may have. I gave these to my talented father-in-law, and he actually built it. This is a medal display for my father. Even my older sister served in the Army during the Gulf War. And I know, if it wasn't for the 10 years that separated us, we'd look like twins. I served in the Army Reserves and was mobilized during Operation Enduring Freedom. And this is not an authorized hairdo, so do not try it. I'm sort of like the Asian version of Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump, but with the good fortune of knowing having to pay that ultimate price. Anyone know what those glasses were called, by the way? Anybody? Oh, cool. They're BCGs, birth control glasses, which apparently is 2019's most popular style for glasses. And look at fashion trying to counter overpopulation. All right, fortune. I think it's fitting to tell you all here in Las Vegas that I may be the luckiest person you may ever meet. I am one among 200,000 children adopted out of Korea since the 1950s. I was abandoned as a baby, found by a river in Daegu, taken to an orphanage, and later adopted by a saint. Some called her Sandy Claus. Now, she taught me everything I needed to know in order to overcome any challenge presented to me. And as much as I meant the world to her, she was the world to me. But quite possibly, the most important value she passed on to me was the value of human connections. She was able to connect deep with people through her authenticity. She was someone you could rely on, someone you could trust. She was honest. She always looked out for you through thick and thin, blood, sweat, and tears, which is exactly how you would describe what the Army calls a battle buddy, or battle for short. The Army truly understands the value of human connections, how they can make you perform better, support each other, and potentially save lives. My instant gratification monkey had me take several breaks from preparing for this to watch several videos of a Medal of Honor recipient that jumped on a grenade to save the life of his battle. They force you into it right from the beginning. Shortly after you start the lively part of basic, they assign you a battle buddy. Now, something that you should all know about me is that I appreciate every experience in life, especially the tough ones. In grade school, I was kicked so hard between the legs, I was convinced I'd never be able to have children. However, it added to the excitement when I found out my wife was pregnant. Even though I got a German name, it did not save me from being teased about my eyes or being assumed I was Chinese, but that all added to building empathy. And when my 4-year-old nephew creatively destroyed my half-completed final project at junior high, it was an opportunity for the second version to be done even better. My first genuine broken heart after high school was absolutely beautiful to me, as I realized that love was real. And when I say the lively part of basic training, I'm referring to when I was rushed out of a packed cattle truck, bear hugging a loaded duffel bag to be ferociously greeted by a rabid pack of drill sergeants that came at you from all angles, all while witnessing your peers struggling to stay on their feet from every part of your peripheral vision. Complete chaos. Yet I was overwhelmed with clarity and content. Back to battle buddies. My battle in basic training was Private Martinez. He was from California, but loved his roots from Mexico. He was a little reserved, and he wore a huge smile when the drill sergeants weren't around. I could hear him often as he said to me, "Battle, you're crazy." But we shared many experiences together, and we had some very extremes. Like, for instance, we threw each other's mattresses down the stairs, and we pulled security for each other so that we could hide within our wall lockers to sneak in 5 minutes of sleep. But all of these experiences made our bond stronger, and we grew together from them. This is my chemical company battle, Marinov, striking a rainbow pose. He was tagged the hairy Bulgarian, or the vulgar Bulgarian in basic, which he really didn't appreciate much and would likely curse you out for saying. We shared many field training exercises together, and he witnessed me jump out of a Humvee and do a combat roll over a small cactus, which he thought was hilarious. Our bond made us look out for each other, operate better, get through the tough times together, and he remains a pleasant constant in my life today. I've had several unforgettable battle buddies while in the Army, bonds that will be forever. So I just managed to talk for about, 10 minutes, with only one slight mention of ArchiCAD at a Graphisoft conference, and I haven't been yanked off the stage, so things are going pretty well for me right now. But I'd like to get on with how this applies to my profession as an architect and how BIM plays a role in it all. Now let me caution you all by saying that this is just a single story of an architect, my story. And hopefully you will add it to your other accounts to formulate a more well-rounded view. I can confidently say that without ArchiCAD, I would not be here with you all today, and not for the obvious reasons, but because it was the means and methods of how I got to be an influential part of a team of a high-profile 60-story, 698 apartment unit high-rise at an incredible riverfront site in the great Midwest city of Chicago, Wolf Point East, which is currently under construction. Fortunately for me, ArchiCAD was my first drafting software out of school 13 years ago. I was floored by the design-focused features, tools, and organizational structure. My firm was underutilizing the full potential of this amazing software that predated that other BIM software by 13 years. We were drafting 2D, even using transparent fills to show shadows on our colored elevations, and not even using the automatic door and window schedule. However, my boss was awesome on many levels. He allowed me complete autonomy with the software. I learned how to do things that it didn't even know how to do. I binned out this 4-story condo building and used the videos to the intro to our website. Sadly, it was one of the many firms that went out of business during the Great Recession in 2008. Yet again, by good fortune, I was hired shortly after at an architectural firm that was extremely busy with commercial projects. The position was posted on a Friday, and by Sunday, there was 300 applicants. and somehow I was lucky enough to be the one to accept that one position. My second firm was as 2D as it gets, drawing 2 lines to make a wall. Every different drawing type was its separate file that was referenced into another completely separate layout file. They made it work because, for one, that was the limits of the software, and 2, they wouldn't imagine how BIM could make their lives better. I felt untapped and underutilized, and I knew I had so much more to give. Due to a series of fortunate events, indirectly due to JoJo, and directly due to my past proficiency with ArchiCAD, I was hired at an architecture firm downtown in Chicago at Papa George Hayes Partners. Now, their use of BIM was similar to the first firm that I worked with, so I was back at it again, utilizing more features on my own, more automations, modeling as much as possible to as many projects as possible. In this 2012 adaptable reuse hospital conversion to apartments, I used the renovation filter for graphic overrides and the internal rendering engine to do this building perspective. But the coolest addition that I implemented was the use of the zone tool to completely automate the building data sheets. This is the beauty of BIM, people. This is saving time. In 2013, I BIMmed out this elementary school addition to an existing early education center. Again, I utilized the renovation filter and rendering engine, but this time I focused efforts on building elevations and the structure, the steel structure. Check out the custom complex profiles of the different corrugated metal panels. Drawing 2D transparent fills for shadows is history. These are all automatic and beautifully describe what is going on with the design depth iterations of the building facade. The morph tool was used for the window metal surrounds. Check out the windows. It's a little hard to see, but the diagonal dashes used for the glass hatch are all automatic. I even tweaked the settings in the elevation so that at a certain distance, the color was black and white to distinguish it from the foreground. But the funnest part was the clash detection and conflict resolution with the different systems, identifying the problems and finding solutions prior to construction. Then finally, in 2015, fortune came my way in the form of interviewing, along with my team, for Wolf Point East as the BIM manager, which BIM was a contractual requirement by Heinz. We became the architect of record, and I was heavily inundated in all things BIM, from organizing the file structure itself, like identifying the patterns of the structure and the typical residential floor plans for the most strategic implementation of hot links, to the actual modeling of the tower and lower levels itself. However, my role and responsibilities far outreached BIM. I took lead on file management, correspondence, coordination, assisted in all of the weekly owner and design team meetings, and was responsible for all of the issued sets of drawings which we made every single deadline. I gave everything I had to my team, my wholehearted self, my best. I gave up sleep, family time, friend time, and I maintained this high, intense level of commitment for 8 months through concept design, schematic design, and halfway through design development before I received the most rewarding part of this project. Georgy Todorov. He became our full-time Wolf Point East BIM manager and my BIM battle buddy. Together, we communicated seamlessly, moved progress forward at lightning speeds, and we even predicted each other's actions. I could confidently rely on him and trust his deliverables. We looked out for each other, and he gave me his best performances. Together, along with our team of teams, produced a bank review set that consisted of 963 sheets of drawings. It seemed like there was nothing that we couldn't do together. Now, there are more phenomenal BIM battles that I've been lucky enough to share this Wolf Point East experience with. And that is Jennifer Diggs, an incredibly talented structural engineer, incredibly responsive as well. And Tom Volda, construction technology manager from Walsh, who is really the epitome of a BIM sensei. Now, there are honestly countless more noteworthy connections that made Wolf Point East a successful project. And an architect may get asked a common question like, what is your favorite project type? And when I look back to the 60 projects I've completed and were built, 2 that are currently under construction, and over 150 projects that I've been involved with, the best ones were the ones that gave me the opportunity to develop the strongest bond with my team. Mark Twain said that the good life is built with good relationships. I care about people at the individual level because I know that when you care for the individual, it benefits the team. I believe, people aren't inspired by what you do unless they believe in why you do it. I believe in the value of human connections. I believe in being wholehearted and looking out for your soldiers, your staff, your teammates. Because what we do has an effect on people, and that effect can create successful projects. Lastly, none of this would have been possible if it wasn't for the extraordinary support from my wife. And that is why I'm the luckiest person. And that is an idea worth spreading. Thank you very much.